Hello and welcome to another video where today I'll be explaining the concepts of activity-based costing, along with a practical example of how it could work within a business. So firstly, let's think about what activity-based costing is. So ABC for short is a form of absorption costing, but unlike traditional absorption costing, where a business may absorb overheads based upon the number of labour or machine hours to produce a unit, activity-based costing absorbs overheads based upon activities known as cost drivers. The theory being that this provides a more accurate method of costing a product or service, which in turn should lead to more accurate pricing decisions. This has come about because of manufacturing businesses becoming increasingly more complex and reliant on machines to do the work, and this in turn increases overheads. With manufacturers also producing more and more different types of products, it may no longer be a particularly accurate method to simply absorb based upon labour or machine hours. One of the benefits for using ABC costing is that it increases understanding of overheads, particularly the amount of overheads incurred and what's driving them. Now, by doing this, it makes the more expensive and non-value adding activities more visible, allowing managers to minimize or even eliminate them. The first step within ABC costing is to determine the cost pools and the drivers. A cost pool is effectively just the budgeted or actual cost of overheads. The cost driver is the activity which causes that cost pool to increase. Some of the common cost drivers I'd expect to see are number of purchase orders, quality inspections, machine setups, and maintenance runs. Now let's put this into a case study and see how it works. Will-aat Limited manufactures 3 products: the table, chair, and bench. Will-aat Limited is using activity-based costing to calculate the overhead recovery rate. Jamie has identified that there are 2 main overhead activities: production setups and quality checks. The budgeted cost of production setups for the following period is $353,400, and the budgeted cost for quality checks for the following period is $225,600. The following budgeted information has also been given to you. So you can see here we have 2 cost drivers: production setups and quality checks. The first step is to calculate the cost drivers for production setups and quality checks. To calculate the cost driver per setup, we first need to determine the number of production setups there are. To do this, we add the product setups from table, chair, and bench, which would be 38 plus 54 plus 22, to give you a total number of production setups of 114. We then take our budgeted cost of production setups of $353,400 and divide them by the number of production setups of 114. This gives us a cost driver per setup of £3,100. We'll repeat the process to determine the cost driver per quality check. First, add up the number of quality checks: 32 plus 46 plus 16 equals 94. We then divide your budgeted cost of quality checks, $225,600, by the total number of quality checks of 94 to give you the cost driver per quality check of £2,400. We can now enter both these into our table. Now that we have calculated our cost drivers, the next step is to calculate how much of the overhead should be charged to each of the products. So not per unit yet, just per product. Firstly then, the costs for production setups. To do this, we need to multiply the number of setups for each product by the cost driver per setup. This would be as follows. So table would be 38 times 3,100, chair would be 54 times 3,100, and bench would be 22 times 3,100. We can now enter these into the top line of our table. We'll now repeat the process for the total cost of quality checks. Table would be 32 times 2,400, chair would be 46 times 2,400, and bench would be 16 times 2,400. We can now enter these into our table and add together the production setups and quality checks for each product to give us the total overhead per product. Our next task is to calculate the overhead recovery rate per unit. To do this, we take our overhead per product and divide this by the total units for each product. This would be as follows. So the table would be 194,600 divided by 8,000 units. The chair would be 277,800 divided by 18,000 units. And the bench would be 106,600 divided by 4,000 units. We can then enter the results of this into our table. This would be the amount of overhead per unit that we recover using activity-based costing. And that wraps up this video on activity-based costing. I hope you found this video useful, and remember, if you have, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more accounting videos. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.